You sit down to check your accounts. Something feels off. Not wrong, just off. You earn more than you did at 25. The car is nicer, the apartment is bigger. And yet, the balance hasn't moved much. You tell yourself it's a slow year. But deep down, you know, this isn't a slow year. This is the trap. The decade between 30 and 40 is where most men quietly lose the wealth game without ever realizing it's happening. You don't lose it in one big mistake. You lose it in 100 small decisions that all feel reasonable at the time. I'm Leo, and today I'm going to walk you through the biggest money traps men fall into in their 30s. Not the obvious ones, the quiet ones. The ones that look like success while they slowly drain your future. Stay with me until the fourth trap. It's the one almost nobody talks about, and it's the one that costs the most. By the end of this video, you'll be able to name every trap that's currently working against you. Before we start, understand this. Your 30s are not the decade you build wealth. They're the decade you decide whether you ever will. The math is brutal. Every dollar you invest at 32 is worth 3 to 4 times more than a dollar invested at 42. Miss the 30s and you don't catch up. You just work longer. So let's name the traps, one by one. The first trap is the most common, and it's the one almost every man falls into. Lifestyle inflation disguised as a reward. You get a raise. You get a promotion. You finally hit that salary number you used to dream about. And then, almost automatically, your spending rises to match. A nicer car, a better neighborhood, dinners that cost what your rent used to cost. It feels earned, and in a way, it is. But here's what's actually happening. Your income went up by 20%, and your lifestyle quietly went up by 22%. Now you're earning more but saving the same percentage as before, sometimes less. The cruel part is that you feel richer. The car says so, the apartment says so, your friends say so. But your net worth is barely moving, because every raise gets absorbed into the new life you just built around it. The decoding is simple. Lifestyle inflation isn't really about wanting nicer things. It's about wanting to feel like the raise meant something. You worked hard for it. You waited for it. And spending it is the fastest way to feel the win. But the win is short. Within 6 months, the new car feels normal. The bigger apartment feels normal. And you're already wondering when the next raise is coming, because the version of your life that used to feel like luxury now just feels like baseline. The fix is uncomfortable. The next time you get a raise, automate the difference into investments before your lifestyle even sees the money. If you never feel it, you never spend it. Most men can't bring themselves to do this. The ones who can are the ones who quietly pull ahead. The second trap is the one most men don't realize they're in until their late 30s. Building the wrong kind of stability. In your 30s, you start craving stability. A house, a long-term partner, a career path, a retirement account that finally has more than 5 digits in it. These are good things. They are not the trap. The trap is when you confuse stability with progress. You get the house, you get the mortgage, you buy the furniture. You commit to the property taxes, the insurance, the maintenance, the long commute. And then you wake up at 38, realizing that all of your monthly cash flow is locked into keeping that stability alive. You have nothing left to actually invest, nothing left to take a calculated risk, nothing left to compound. You aren't building wealth. You're paying for the appearance of it. There's a difference between a house that serves your financial life and a house that consumes it. Most men in their 30s don't know which one they bought until it's too late. Healthy stability protects optionality. Trap stability eliminates it. The simple test is this. If you lost your job tomorrow, how many months could you maintain everything you've built? Less than 6 is a warning. Less than 3 is the trap. Knowing the difference is everything. The third trap is one almost nobody warns you about. The slow disappearance of cheap mistakes. In your 20s, you can make almost any financial mistake and recover. 25-year-old, you can blow through savings, change careers, move cities, restart from zero, and you have decades to rebuild. In your 30s, mistakes start getting expensive. Not because the mistakes are bigger, because the time to fix them is smaller. A bad investment at 25 costs you the principal. A bad investment at 35 costs you the principal plus 30 years of compound growth on that money. The same mistake 10 years later costs 4 times as much. This is the moment when most men start playing it too safe. Or worse, they don't realize the rules changed and keep making 20-something decisions with 30-something money. Both are dangerous. Both are common. Both feel completely reasonable from the inside. The shift you need is simple. Your 30s are not the decade for big swings or for paralysis. They're the decade for boring, consistent, automated decisions that don't depend on you being motivated. The men who win in this decade are the ones whose money keeps moving even when they stop paying attention to it. Let me pause for a moment. I want to ask you something. Where are you in your 30s right now, financially? Early 30s, mid, late, and which trap are you closest to right now? Drop your answer in the comments. Be honest with yourself. The men who name the trap are the ones who get out of it. Your answer might also help someone else watching who's exactly where you are and doesn't know they're in it. If you've already escaped one of these traps, share how. That's the kind of story that helps people more than any video I could make. Now let's get to the trap I told you to stay for. The fourth one? The fourth trap is the one almost nobody talks about, the peer comparison trap. In your 30s, your social circle starts to financially separate for the first time in your life. Some of your friends are buying houses. Some are taking expensive vacations. Some are starting businesses. Some seem to be ahead. You see the cars, the renovations, the wedding photos at resorts, the kids in private school. And your brain does the math for you, even when you don't ask it to. It compares, it ranks, it quietly tells you that we're behind. So you make decisions to catch up. You upgrade things you didn't need to upgrade. You commit to lifestyles you can't sustain. You buy the version of success that's visible. Here's what almost nobody tells you. Most of what looks like wealth in your 30s is debt. Most of the lifestyle you're comparing yourself to is leveraged, financed, and one bad year away from collapsing. You're not behind. You're just seeing the front of the house, not the back. The wealthy ones in your circle, the actually wealthy ones, are almost always the quietest. They drive the older car. They live in the unremarkable house. They invested the money you spent trying to look like them. This is the part that breaks most men's brains. The friend you think is winning is probably the one who's most stressed about money. The friend you think is behind is probably the one who's actually building real wealth. You just can't see it because real wealth doesn't advertise itself. There's a deeper layer to this trap. The peer comparison isn't really about your peers. It's about who you're afraid of becoming. Every man in his 30s carries a quiet fear of being the one left behind, the one who didn't figure it out. That fear is what makes you spend. The shift is the hardest one in the entire decade. You have to stop measuring yourself by what your peers display and start measuring yourself by what your peers actually own. The two numbers are almost never the same. The fifth trap is the one that compounds the worst over time. Treating your career like it's the asset. For most of your 20s, your salary is your wealth strategy. You earn more, you save more, you progress. The formula works. In your 30s, that stops working, or rather, it stops being enough. Your career income is still important, but if it's the only thing you're building, you're one layoff, one industry shift, one health event away from starting over. And starting over in your late 30s is not the same as starting over in your late 20s. The men who quietly build real wealth in their 30s stop relying purely on the paycheck. They start treating their income as the fuel, not the engine. They invest a fixed percentage automatically before they see the money. They build a small side income that doesn't depend on their main job. They learn one investing approach and stick to it through every market cycle, good or bad. None of this requires being a finance expert. It requires accepting that your salary alone won't carry you to 60. The men who accept this early are the ones who get to choose when they stop working. The men who don't get told when they stop working. There's a quiet truth most men in their 30s never hear. Your job is the most fragile asset you own. It can be taken away in a single meeting by people who don't know your name. Building wealth means slowly transferring your dependency away from the one thing that can disappear without your permission. Now, here's what to do if you recognize yourself in 3 or 4 of these traps. Don't panic. Panic is what causes the next set of bad decisions. Pick the trap that costs you the most right now. Just one. Address it for the next 90 days. Move the money. Change the automation. Have the uncomfortable conversation with your spouse. Cancel the subscription. Sell the thing you bought to impress people who don't think about you. In 90 days, pick the next one. Then the next. You don't escape your 30s with one big move. You escape them with 10 boring decisions made consistently over 10 years. Here's the part of this video that matters most. You're not behind, you're not failing, you're not stupid for falling into any of these traps. They're called traps for a reason. They look like success while they cost you. The fact that you're watching this, sitting through 20 minutes of a man in a navy suit talking about money, means you're already doing what most men your age refuse to do. You're paying attention. You're looking at your own situation honestly. You're willing to feel uncomfortable for the sake of getting better. That alone puts you ahead of 70% of the men in your generation, not because you have more money than they do, because you're starting to think differently than they do. And thinking differently is what compounds over the next 20 years. Wealth in your 30s isn't built by big moves or perfect timing. It's built by men who quietly refuse to fall for the same traps everyone else is falling for. That's it. That's the whole game. If this video helped you see something you weren't seeing before, hit the like button. It tells the algorithm to show this to other men in your shoes who probably need it more than they realize. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell. I drop a new video every week on the behavioral patterns that quietly decide who builds wealth and who doesn't. In the comments, tell me which trap hit closest to home. The first one with lifestyle inflation. The second one with the wrong kind of stability. The third one with the disappearing margin for error. The fourth one with peer comparison. Or the fifth one with relying too much on the career. I read every comment, and the patterns I see in them shape the next videos I make for you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking your money seriously while you still have time to change the outcome. Most men don't. You're not most men. Next week, I'm breaking down the exact same trap framework, but for men in their 40s, because of the 30s are the decade that decides if you'll be wealthy. The 40s are the decade that decides if you'll be free. I'll see you there.